Welcome back to Vince Story Podcast. My name is Ayas, and today I'm with Mr. Freeman. How are you today, Mr. Freeman?
I'm doing awesome today.
That's good.
Today,
we're out of Jacksonville, Florida, man. So the weather is kind of decent now. It's a little bit hot, but do you like it? Do you like living here?
oh yeah, I've been here off and on 30 years.
Perfect.
Love it here.
Give us just a little bit of a background on yourself.
Just quick background about myself. I'm Freeman Stevens from Macon, Georgia, by way of the Navy. 20 years in the Navy. Stationed here twice, Iceland, Spain, Atlanta, San Diego, retired 05, Atlanta, finish up on my own company for about 7 years, master's degree, taught high school, several other businesses in car industry.
Yeah.
5, 6, 7 years total time frame and loving life.
Perfect. That's awesome, man. So you obviously been in the car industry for how long?
Total about 6, 7 years, but I've sold cars off and on.
Of course.
Forever.
Even during, like, whether you had
Active
your
duty.
own business
Yeah,
and so on
yeah. I
and so
got
forth.
first introduced to car business. My first duty station in Charleston, South Carolina, back in 1986. Met a guy named Buzz Bright. He introduced me to car business.
Buzz Bright, that's awesome. And you did new cars, used cars, you did franchisees and also private owned.
Exactly. Corporate stores, buy here, pay here, franchise stores as well, and then mom and pop used cars.
That's awesome. Okay. So, Mr. Freeman, what do you drive for? What kind of a vehicle do you drive right now?
That big Beamer, baby.
There you go. So, what kind of BMW do you have?
It's a active hybrid 3, 350 horsepower. I bought it brand new, 100 miles on it. Love it. Just love it, man. I have several Beamers. Z4, wife 228, 430. We're a Beamer family.
That's awesome. I'm glad. So pretty much you're into the Beamer segment now. So what's interesting is honestly nowadays. Let's talk about rental companies because they were talking about BMWs. I went to Miami and then we got the chance to rent a BMW X5.
Okay. One
of the new ones. So it was a very beautiful ride. Honestly, I wasn't expecting that out of a rental company. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to wonder to see what kind of what do you think happens to all these cars that are high-end, owned by rental companies, and then what did they do after the end of service? Did they just sell them to regular dealerships? Out of your experience,
Well, yeah, some of them have contracts to sell to corporate stores, but a lot of them go back to auction.
Exactly.
Go back to auction.
So you think they go back to the auction and people just buy them off the auction?
Buy them auction. Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. Honestly, and so out of your experience, so you've been in franchisees in multiple, different kind of store brands. You see these car rentals being sold. How's the quality? Do you feel like the quality of the car being sold that was prior rental is lower than the regular car that's being used by one owner?
The rental cars are just a little bit higher mileage on the vehicles.
Of course.
So a lot of rental companies, certain vehicles, they know when to get rid of them at the right time. So pretty much it's a break even point.
Yeah.
They've made their money already, and
exactly.
Now they sell it back on the market, and they can either break even or make a profit off it, the industry.
Exactly, yeah, so, because they set a certain profit to the vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, sometimes they make profit off of selling the car because some of the cars, for example, Toyota Corolla, after the pandemic, you're selling it for the same price that you almost bought it for there was a huge shortage, and rental car industries was one of the ones that already had a lot of those. So.
Right, exactly. But during the pandemic, Enterprise, a lot of the rental companies actually cut back because they wasn't making any money and stuff, right? And then when economy started gaining, they realized they didn't have enough in inventory. So this is the reason why you've seen the price of rental cars, because you can rent a rental car back 3 years ago for $35 a day. Now that same rental is $79-$80 a day.
Exactly.
So
and plus insurance. Insurance. Plus your deposit. So you're out here because I when I went for that BMW, it was a $500 deposit, and I told them that's almost a down payment for a car nowadays. So I'm putting the deposit and almost buying the car. And some people just defer on that deposit, never catch up with it. Sometimes they keep it. You never know. And so, I mean, that's for the car rentals. Some other people that it shows as a one owner, out of my experience in the industry, is that a person make a purchase on a vehicle and they use an app, for example, as Turo. And you have some experience, or at least you did some deep research on Turo.
Right.
They buy the car. Most likely, for example, we'll say it's a Toyota Highlander. They'd buy the Toyota Highlander. It will show as one owner, but it's actually been rented out so many times.
So many times.
Yeah, exactly. Right. By the time it comes back to be sold, you're like, yo, what happened to this car? You know, it's unimaginable. Sometimes it's like little things that are broken off because people that rent it don't care.
Don't care, right? Exactly.
Yeah. So what do you think about Turo? What kind of impression do you have about Turo?
Honestly, I think it's a good investment. You got to know what you're doing. You got to know your market you're in, because the Chicago, LA, Atlanta, Miami market, the bigger markets are different than the Jacksonville market.
Yeah.
So you have to find out what's best works in those areas. And you find out through my research, I'm finding out that more economy cars work a little bit better. And you can pretty much triple your money versus double your money renting out a Lamborghini or a BMW.
Yeah.
So you're going to rent out to the common people. I mean, there's more of those.
Yeah.
You know, in essence, than somebody want to buy a BMW or rent a sports car. Yeah. So somebody's somebody's car just broke down.
Exactly.
And it's going to take 2 weeks to get fixed. So they don't have the necessary money right away to get into a rental, because it takes a $300 or $500 deposit with a rental car company or a major credit card. Some people just don't have.
Yeah, that's right.
So you can actually rent through Turo a lot cheaper.
Yeah, exactly. And then, so for example, people that are listing on Turo, they don't do the market research accurately. So this is what they'll do, is that they'll do a vehicle's price. Let's say I'm trying to make the payment plus $500. I know I'm renting 10 times. So they're going to put it at such a high price compared to the other products that are in the industry. Me as a consumer, in general, consumers look at the initial price for the rental. So I can rent it out for $39, but I can get my money 3 times over instead of double. But also Enterprise is renting out at 50. So instead of me renting it out, 20 times, I'm going to rent it out 10 times at, 100. But everybody else realistically is going to go to Enterprise because their initial price is lower.
Lower, right.
Yeah. Exactly. So besides the demand for the market, I don't think Jacksonville is a big tourism, but most people do need rental cars generally. So I think you just have to compare with what other people also have on the app, plus what other rental companies also have on.
Exactly. But, one thing I did study and I learned from an avid Turo or rent-a-car person in Las Vegas, basically you want to diversify that portfolio and stuff. You just don't want to rent on. There's other apps also that's actually gaining more money. Then two, you want to incorporate yourself in LLC so you can actually rent your own cars and make more money by renting your own cars out.
Yeah, because sometimes you'll have return customers that like the car setup or the inventory that you currently have.
Exactly.
They don't necessarily want to go through, an app. They can just directly call you and then you'll have the car ready for them. Sometimes that's how you build your customer base, which is, you're absolutely correct. And that's a very successful way of doing this. It maximizes your ability to reach customers. Just like renting a limousine, some people do it through the app. You pay $600, or you can just call the actual owner of the car.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and pay a whole lot less. Too.
Exactly, and you still get the same quality of service and same car vehicle. And what do you think about the insurance or the storage? Let's say, for example, if you would have started a Turo tomorrow, what do you think is the good number, a solid number to start with? Like, how many vehicles do you think it should be a good starting point?
Based on affordability. I mean, if you can afford one car, start with one car. If you can afford 3 cars, start with 3.
Yeah.
But it's based on what you can actually potentially lose.
Correct.
Right. So you don't want to go bite off too much, where you're following Chapter 7, Chapter 13 bankruptcy when you just lost your butt up, because you can get sued.
Yeah. No,
okay. You can lose get sued. So I would venture to say, from my research, starting off with one. Then moving yourself up.
Yeah.
My theory is I don't want to be on Turo and making a car payment on that particular car that I'm renting out.
Yeah.
I would prefer to buy something cash within the guidelines of Turo.
Okay.
And at some point I'm going to break even, and anything after the break even point is all profit.
Exactly.
And then I'm going to sell my car for the depreciation value once it reaches it, and still make a profit too as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, starting off small, and then reinvesting your profits back into the business. Then 2 cars, 3 cars.
Yeah.
There are some people out there now I think there's one lady, she has 85 cars on Turo. She's making about $100,000 a month.
Nice. That's very
but that's a lot to keep up with one person. And I think she's not keeping up with herself. She's probably got maybe a partner or 2 that's helping her out. But,
of course.
But
you also, I feel like you're going to need resources when you're dealing with that mass of vehicles, because like we're talking about diversity, we are dealing with 6 or 7 different brand of type of cars out of the 80 cars that the lady, for example, has. Some of them are more specific than others, like BMWs are more specific. They need a certain type of mechanic. So you need to have resources and people that can help you out. Or God forbid there's a fender bender. You do charge the customer, but you need somebody to actually
fix the car
too. So,
exactly.
You need somebody that's professional resources. And how do you think it works with the insurance? I mean, is it an expensive insurance? Do you need to get a professional actual, like insurance, or what do you think?
Well, through Turo, they have the insurance. So you contract through Turo, there's different levels of insurance through Turo. So you're covered. Under Turo, as long as you continue to meet their guidelines. You have to meet their guidelines. You don't make their guidelines, they can kick you off the platform.
Yeah. And
then 2, if there's a claim, if you didn't meet the guidelines, you can get sued personally if you haven't set your business up in a incorporation or LLC.
Yeah.
You want to set your business up so you're not personally getting sued. Your personal assets are being protected.
Exactly.
And you're suing the business itself.
Exactly. So basically that's going to be my next topic about it, is that you would set up an LLC to actually start working.
Or an S Corp, one or the other.
Yeah, so that's the best way to do it. So that way you can start working on Turo. You'd have to set that up before.
Exactly. Unless you just want to assume the risk yourself. If you assume the risk yourself, you can lose everything.
Exactly.
Because just imagine somebody driving down 95, tire blowout.
And then it's on you 100%.
It's on you 100%.
Yeah, that's a very smart way to do it, honestly. And so you would take a business loan out to purchase these cars based on your assets that you invested into the LLC, or you would actually buy the cars cash?
If you have the car,
we're talking about somebody of your status who is looking to make a decent retirement, let's say, a project.
Okay,
we'll do a retirement project.
I would take money. I would venture to say I wouldn't borrow the money because the rates right now are so high.
Yeah.
If you could take the money, borrow the money from yourself out of your 401k plan, or you have a savings, have a significant amount of money, I would borrow from myself. And a lot of business investors would tell you no, but I would be based on the debt to income ratio. Why would you want to put yourself in any more debt and consuming the debt when you can borrow from yourself pretty much interest free?
Yeah.
From your 401k plan or your savings, either one, and making an investment. That's what I would do. But in business, how they teach you in business, you could actually get a low interest rate loan, which there's not right now.
Out there. Right now it's skyrocketing. Mercedes is offering 9.19 for a new car. That's very high up there.
It's high. It's high. So,
and
now you're talking personal loan. You're talking a personal loan. Personal loans now are, I think, 16 to 18%. So of course you're going to guarantee the loan with these cars, but a good solid business plan first. You have to have a good solid business plan. Let me just say that.
Of course.
A solid good business plan. Your credit's got to be on point before you can go to any financial institution.
Of course.
Talking about a business loan. So if that's not in order.
Yeah.
You can't start your business unless you're using personal money.
Yeah, and nobody would even take you seriously taking a huge chunk, let's say $50,000, and you're already in deep debt or you deferred on your current debt.
Exactly.
So you have to have a good standing, and obviously you got to have an understanding of how banks usually work, especially with businesses of this caliber.
Yeah.
For them, it is a higher risk loan, giving such an amount for car rentals. For somebody that's inexperienced or just starting a fresh LLC.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then trying to do it on your own where you're going out. And I've seen people go to a lot, buy a car, go to another lot, try to buy a car on their personal credit. At some point, if you don't have the income to support these cars,
yeah,
right, you're not You can only buy maybe 2 cars, 1 or 2 cars.
What brand of vehicles would you purchase for Turo?
I would do like what I've researched: Nissan Versa, Honda Civic, Toyota Corolla, small stuff like that. In this market, in Jacksonville market,
For sure, yeah.
Okay, now a bigger market, I would venture to say I would probably much stay the same.
Yeah.
But at the same time, maybe have 1 or 2 sports cars.
So I have a very good friend of mine that lives in New York. It's a little bit of a different market, but it seems like that the most successful vehicles that they've had are vans. So they rent out vans because usually you can get it for a decent price. You can get a very reliable van. Most of the vans are in general reliable because if you buy it aftermarket, used already, you can get a decent price on it and it's not so abused. You know, they're usually mom-owned. They don't travel too much. You're just in the city. So they made good, decent money on vans. You can rent it out for about $10 more than a Toyota Corolla, but you're also getting a lot more space. So do you feel like that's a good approach to it? Let's say out of the 5 cars that you possibly would buy for Turo, would you consider buying a van?
Yeah, because you can rent those out to organizations.
Absolutely. Yeah, businesses, and it's a lot cheaper with other companies that are bigger and, just for enterprise, for example, or, Avis, or even, the dollar car companies, they rent them out for an expensive amount.
Oh, yeah. They're like, I think $97 a day.
Yeah.
And if you're a Prime member, if you're not a Prime member, it's even more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Correct.
And then if doing parts of the year, like during holiday time period, it's even more.
That's right.
So summertime is more.
Exactly.
So there you go.
Yeah, and they are seasonal too.
Yeah.
So do you think that somebody that has about $100,000 invested into Turo, do you think they can retire off of that? Based on buying vehicles that are reliable, they've had, a decent set of customers out of Jacksonville, Florida. Just for an example, do you think that would be a good retirement system? Instead of having your money sitting in the account, you'd use that towards Turo?
No, I would venture to say diversify your portfolio.
Of course.
And not put 100% inside of Turo. I would venture to go out and do other apps as well.
Of course.
But more so owning your own rental service. That would be probably your better retirement.
Yeah, I mean, they're obviously going to start an LLC, so you wouldn't put all your eggs in one basket, but you'll try it out, at least for a retirement backup plan.
Yeah, okay. It takes some years to build.
Of course.
To build, and then at some point, you can actually branch out into different cities yourself. So, yeah, you could build a good retirement.
For sure, because, I mean, that way you can hear and see what people are saying about these cars in the market, because you could have come in and Jacksonville will suddenly boom and you won't have the correct set of cars that people want.
Yeah.
Some
and it's doing that now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because it's changing. It's changing its demographic from an old people city you go to retire into an actual active business city.
Exactly. A metropolitan city.
Of course, yeah. So and what do you think other baskets you'd invest your money in personally? I mean, just give that advice to our listeners so that way they can see.
In the car industry or
what do you think it would be best? Because let's say we have Turo as a backup. Would you invest your money into purchasing used vehicles and selling them as consignments with one of the family-owned dealerships?
No,
or
actually, I've been looking at a company in Missouri and Kansas who's been in the business for about 30 years, and all they do is rent-to-own vehicles.
Nice.
Okay?
That's very interesting.
Very successful at doing what they do as well. Very, very successful. So I've been looking at that for the last 6-7 months and downloaded, and made some phone calls, and the business has been real successful. So what they do is they take older model cars, and they just lease to own.
Exactly.
I mean, say you take a 2000 like a 2008 Lexus 350 RX, with 85,000 miles on it. Okay. That car has still a lot of value in it, a lot of longevity. So they make it short term.
There's thundering and lightning outside, but people are gonna hear that. They're gonna be like, "What's going on in the studio?"
I know, right?
We're keeping it live.
You make it short term. Right. Initial down payment. You make it either a weekly or weekly rental for 18 months, and the car is yours.
And so, but that way it does not affect your credit negatively.
It doesn't affect your credit at all.
Exactly.
At all, because I'm not reporting it, or neither am I pulling it.
Exactly.
I'm just basing everything off of your income.
So let's say it's basically like a buy here, pay here, but if you default on your payment, you can rent your car again if you'd like to.
Yeah, you can exactly. You can get you can repossess your car.
Exactly.
And go to the next person.
Exactly.
There you go. So that's a great way of establishing a good retirement and a good income base for yourself and your family, and in the future your kids.
Yeah, that's a very interesting way of doing it. Mr. Freeman, do you have any other advice for our listeners that you think that it should be very important to our listeners to really pay attention to purchasing a vehicle here in the future?
Okay, so make sure you keep up with the rates. What's going on with the interest rates? The Feds each month come out. I think on the 27th, there might be another 2.5% hike in rates.
2.5.
2.5.
That is a lot.
That's a lot. Okay.
Yeah.
So pay attention to your local news. CNN, Fox News, or whatever, about how the rates are doing. Two, the biggest thing is taking care of your. I can't stress this enough.
Of course, yeah, absolutely. Especially when you're in the car industry, that's used car industry, people do not take care of their credit correctly.
Credit. I'm gonna say it 50 times. Credit, take care of your credit.
Of course.
Because that rate, if you got a 550 below score, just assume you're going to pay 29%.
Absolutely.
Okay? Whatever the state limit is in the state of Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, whatever, you can go as high as 29%.
Of course.
So you can't come to the table saying, well, the rate's too high when your credit is that low.
Exactly.
Don't make any sense. And we get people like that.
Of course.
Well, what's the rate? Well, what's your credit?
Exactly. That's right. That's where it's at.
That's where it's at.
Exactly. So some people, if you carry the conversation with them, they had a better history, and this is what they're hoping for, deferring on their current credit. So that's why we're going back to this credit status, because you have to take care of your credit, or at least when you go get a loan, you have to find a way or a solution that in case you do have an emergency, you're able to get out of it. So that way you're not too upside down.
Yeah, exactly.
And I feel like that's the correct way that you carried yourself in life. So that way you never defer on anything. You can just, if you're tight on budget, you can sell the car and you're not upside down.
Exactly.
Does that sound about right?
That sounds about right.
Perfect. Well, Mr. Freeman, thank you so much for visiting us at Miss Story Podcast. Of course, we're going to love having you back on. We did a podcast before. Now we're doing an episode with you. Hopefully, would you visit us ever and again in future?
Yes, I will. I'll come out.
Perfect. That'll be awesome. Well, thank you so much, everybody, to our listeners. Please subscribe and share this and hit the like button, because that's really what supports us. Thank you again, Mr. Freeman, for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.
Yes, sir.